Code of conduct.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown. I put in extra work that just can't be found. I took the sword out the stone, wasn't a thing. Look me in my eyes cause I'm a king. Look me in my eyes cause I'm a king. God made me punch in accurate numbers. My castle won't crumble. What I tackle will fumble. I've been a leader when they ain't see it, but now my feet is up. According to me, royalty didn't end with King Tut. Crown on my head, clouds is at my legs. Big says sky is the limit. I look down on the ledge. I push the bar like I'm opening a cell. Hands in my cookie jar, you won't come out with a single nail. I need all of mine. The weight of my shoulders won't fit on a scale. What's a king to a giant? Well, Goliath fell. Even if we playin' chess, dog, this king can't be checked. I make all my moves on the board, I invented my steps. I'm a king, the blood of a ruler. I feel like Mansa Musa. Make your squad disappear like landing by the Bermuda. Triangle, look at it from my angle. I'm a king, the closest thing to being one of God's angels. I'm a king. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. I put in extra work that just can't be found. I took the sword out the stone, wasn't a thing. Look me in my eyes cause I'm a king.
Shout out to
Look
Luli,
me
man.
in my eyes cause I'm a king.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. This is the Code of Conduct of the King podcast. I am your host, JSpenceTheKing, and I am brought to you on the Buffalo Rumblings Vidcast Network by Picasso Pizza. Treat yourself to the most flavorful pizza on game day, Picasso's. We are Buffalo Pizza. Shipping local and nationwide order at PicassoPizza.net. What is going on, Bills fans? And I feel like I'm gonna have some Niners fans in the building tonight. What is going on? I'm excited. Let me lock this up. My bad. I'm just doing stuff wrong. There we go. Had to lock that up. But I'm excited. We are done with the preseason. We had a cut down today for every team around the NFL, but our Buffalo Bills have, got our roster a little bit tighter. We're almost there. I know we still need a punter, so they're going to do a numbers game with the current 53 roster. We're going to probably send somebody else to injured reserve. My guess is Stevenson will make IR, and then we'll have space to sign a punter. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. I'll go through the releases. I did want to open the show up, though. I was talking to a good friend of mine yesterday, and I'm sure everybody saw the post, too. So somebody reached out to me and was telling me how they went to the grocery store. And this was an issue for me because obviously everybody knows I'm in Phoenix. So I want to talk about this for a second. So I'm not in Buffalo, but in Buffalo, I feel like we all know, right? If you are walking down the street or you're somewhere in public and somebody is wearing a Bills, whatever, and you say, "Go Bills," we know what the correct response is, right? We are supposed to say, "Go Bills" back. In Buffalo, why is it that what is going on? What is going on? I've been seeing a lot of people complain about this. Now, for those listening by podcast, if you can't tell, I'm being sarcastic and I'm joking. I understand that some days you might not feel like saying "Go Bills" back. However, it's the season, damn it. So it's time to have some fun. It's time to kick this thing up into overdrive. It's time to have some fun. Listen, I can't wait for LA. Next week is LA. I'm going to say that again. Next week is LA, which means 7 days plus 2 more days. We're going to see Josh Allen for 4 quarters. We're going to see Stephon Diggs for 4 quarters. We're going to see Von Miller in a Buffalo Bills uniform playing for the first time, not in practice. My man Richard Russ said, "Crank it to 10. I'm a 6. But I'm going to be at 10. I'm going to be at 11. Shout out to my man Joe Miller in the building. I hope he's still enjoying his vacation. Had a great time last night on the Off Tackle show with John Fina, filling in for Joe. That was a great time. Shout out to Steph. Sarah's in here and Richard Rush. Got Gina repping the Bay. Gina has a great podcast. If anybody is looking for a podcast for 49ers material or during the NBA season, if you're looking for she loves Steph Curry and she loves the Warriors out there. I wish she would cover my Lakers a little bit more, but if you're looking for some good content, she's very knowledgeable. She's awesome. Go ahead and follow Gina on Twitter, Instagram, wherever she is. Jay Mock in the building. What's up, man? So let's get to this. Let's get to the releases. Shout out to everybody. I don't want to miss anybody. Shout out to everybody in the room. So I think everybody expected Matt Barkley to be cut. He's going to come back to the practice squad. He's part of the roster. He's not going anyplace. He's comfortable. If anything surprised me on this list, I would honestly say, like everybody, I would think the Isaiah Hodgins cut was a surprise, because over the last few weeks of the preseason, he really showed that he developed into a pretty good receiver. Yeah, I think somebody said, if this was during the days where we had Kelvin Benjamin, if this was the Kelvin Benjamin days, Isaiah Hodgins would probably be wide receiver 1 for the Buffalo Bills. So first, I want to say, I need y'all to understand how far we have come as an organization since Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott took over this team. We're making cuts, and we're upset about cuts, not because we just love the people, but because they're good. Like, they're really good. O.J. Howard was a free agent signing that everybody seemed to be excited about. He's a super athletic tight end. Super athletic. Supposed to be, make some good plays with Josh. I expected him to make the roster. He had a lot of guaranteed, not a ton, but for a signing like his, he had a lot of guaranteed money this year and next year. Gone. So what this tells me is that the Buffalo Bills are in go mode. There's no more, okay, we gave him some guaranteed money. He's a guaranteed roster position. Nope. No, at this point, it's excellence or nothing. It's excellence or nothing. It's top of the top or nothing. And that's what our Buffalo Bills are going into this season. We're cutting guys that are going to go somewhere else and start. It's amazing. I know half of Bills Mafia is upset about Raheem Blackshear. I think he makes it back to the practice squad. I do. I think that now I could be wrong about that. I'm sure, the Giants are always looking for people. I think their backup to Saquon Barkley right now is either Antonio Williams or Matt Breida. Those aren't two guys. Now, with respect to those guys, those aren't two guys that I would trust to run my team if Saquon Barkley went down. Do I trust the three-headed monster? Maybe if Blackshear and those guys, we'll see. I don't know. I think there's other teams that may look for him, but I think just the way it's gone in the past, I think a lot of our guys are going to make it to the roster. I remember everybody was upset. We thought we weren't going to get Duke Williams back. Duke made it back every time. It's okay. We're not going to miss out on anything or anyone. We still have, in my opinion, the deepest roster, top to bottom, 1 to 53 in the entire NFL. Joe Miller says, question, which players cut end up in New England? You know what? That's a good question. Now, depending on, I could see Isaiah Hodgins going. And I know you don't like that, Joe. Isaiah Hodgins is Joe Miller's guy. He roots for him, and I root for him. But Joe really, really roots for him, and he has a good reason to. He's very talented. The guy doesn't drop the passes. He showed up in preseason. He's made himself look like an up-and-coming star. And right now, when you look at the New England Patriots, first of all, we know that their offense right now, every report that we're getting out of New England is like, it's confusing, and it's surprising that New England looks the way that they look. They have some pretty good running backs out there in New England right now. They signed 2 tight ends last season, and only one seemed to show up. So now, when you're talking about this, you got to think about it. If they have an opportunity to sign a guy like Isaiah Hodgins that shows up, I think New England Patriots absolutely are on the radar. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on. I am ready to bring my guest in. I'm excited about this one. This gentleman that I'm about to bring in has I call him the big dog of SB Nation and 49ers, the SB Nation umbrella for 49ers. But when I tell you, like, this guy, he's solid. He's one of the best podcasters that I started to listen to as I got into podcasting. He's one of the guys that I respect, not only because of his work, but as an individual, as a man. And I'm very, very excited to have my guy in here. My guy Stats, Rob Stats. What is going on, Stats? Thank you for joining me, man.
Well, first of all, thanks for that intro. I mean, I'm all fired up about Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance, and then you go say a bunch of nice stuff about me. Now I'm like, all calm down. Thank you.
Well, I had to do that because I knew I was going to get you worked up when we brought up this Jimmy G situation. So I had to get it going. But hey, man, I really appreciate you joining me today. Today is a busy day, so I feel like it's a perfect day for a podcast to be live. Like it's news everywhere around the NFL. So let's get right into it, man. Let's start with you and your team. What is going on with this Jimmy G situation? Because the thing is, y'all been saying the fan base, the coaching staff, the GM, hey, Jimmy G's done. We're moving on from him. Trey Lance is our guy. And now he's still there. What is going on?
I don't know. I don't know why they can't quit each other. It's such a bizarre situation. And the only thing I could think of is forget what they say, right? For who cares what they say? What matters is what they do. So they can talk about how it's Trey's team and they love Trey Lance and everything is fine. Everybody knows what's up in the locker room. Don't believe it for a second, because you don't bring back Jimmy Garoppolo unless you think you might have to use him. It's a hedge. It has to be. You're either not confident in Trey Lance's ability or you're not confident in his ability to stay healthy. It's one of those two things, because that's the only thing it could be.
So from your perspective then, which of the two, or is it both? Like, do you think it's a combination of the two?
Yeah, I think it's both. I think the 49ers want to have their cake and eat it too. They have a roster that's good enough to win the Super Bowl. They just do. It's one of the best rosters in the league. It's certainly one of the best rosters in the NFC. But they drafted a quarterback who may need multiple years of seasoning if he ever develops in the league. And they are unwilling to take their lumps, kind of like the Bills did with Josh Allen, to get to the point where he can be an effective weapon. They keep trying to have Trey Lance and develop Trey Lance without actually playing him, while also rolling Jimmy Garoppolo out there and getting to the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, and to me, that was my biggest criticism of the team last year. I first of all, I agree with everything you said. I think the roster is Super Bowl ready, besides the quarterback position. And that's not a shot at Trey Lance. And last year, it wasn't a shot at Jimmy G. I just think that, the type of roster that you guys have, you also still, you need a quarterback that, is not just I'm not going to lose games. You actually need a guy who's going to actually make that play every once in a while. You got some studs, but you need a quarterback. So, it's just, I saw something you said on Twitter, and I kind of want to bring it up in this conversation. It's just ridiculous because Tom Brady didn't want Jimmy Garoppolo backing him up. And now you're thinking that a second, third year player with all the potential in the world, who I'm guessing a month ago thought that the organization was all in on him. Like, what does that do to his psyche, in your opinion?
I think it's terrible. And I literally asked Kyle Shanahan about that today on the conference call, because he said that, Jimmy dealt with Trey being behind him all year last year. And I said, Kyle, like, you really don't see a difference between Jimmy G with an unproven rookie from North Dakota State who's thrown less than 400 passes in his life on the roster, and Trey Lance, this unproven guy who now has 30-year-old Jimmy Garoppolo, who's got a Super Bowl under his belt behind him. You really don't see a difference? And he basically said no, which I don't believe for a single freaking second, because the second Trey Lance starts to struggle, the locker room is going to start choosing sides, because there's going to be dudes in that locker room, maybe an older guy like Trent Williams, who don't really care about the development of the 49ers organization. Yeah. He's trying to get his ring now. He's going to be like, what are we doing with this kid when we've got a guy that we know we can win with in Jimmy Garoppolo just sitting there? Like, it's going to happen. And I don't know why the 49ers are either they don't see it or they're refusing to acknowledge it.
And you're right. When you say it that way, it's wild, because you're right. With Jimmy G, you made it to the Super Bowl. You made it to the conference championship. Like, it's like, what more can he do to, I don't know. I just think it's an uncomfortable thing. And I was grateful. Josh Allen situation, we let Tyrod go. It wasn't we're grateful you made it to the playoffs, man. But hey, we just drafted this guy. He's our guy. So good luck. you can go to Cleveland.
And think about that too.
Yeah.
Like the Bills were not known to go to the playoffs every year before that happened. And Tyrod took them to the playoffs and they still cleared the deck, just like the Chiefs cleared the deck for Patrick Mahomes in 2018. When you got your guy and you don't need a parachute, you don't need a safety net. And the 49ers have a safety net and they only got it for one reason, because they're worried about falling.
Man, and I feel for him. I don't know how he is emotionally or mentally for this. I'm hoping that he's taking this well. I'm hoping that he's taking it differently than what we're assuming. But I'm rooting for the guy, man. So, but let's talk about your rosters, because like we said, everywhere around the league it was cut down day. You cut. To me, I don't follow the team closely, so to me it was a surprise. You cut one of your running backs that was, I think he was like one of your top third down backs, if I'm not mistaken. Were there any surprises for you, or does this all look normal?
Well, you're right. Jermichael Hasty was their third down back last year. The problem was he just wasn't a good third down back last year. So I was kind of happy to see him get cut. He's the kind of player that he wasn't awful, but I also think he's the kind of guy that if you need him during the season, you can pick him up again, or someone basically just like him. Don't forget the 49ers have spent 2 third-round picks in back-to-back years on running backs in Ty Davis-Price and Trey Sermon. So they were both going to make the roster, even though Sermon hasn't looked particularly great this year. So yeah, that is kind of a big role for the 49ers that's going to be changing this year. I don't really know who they're going to put in that spot. It might be Jordan Mason, who's kind of an undrafted free agent that's been turning some heads in camp, but that's sort of up in the air right now. But yeah, Hasty, even though he was the third down back, nobody's shedding any tears for him.
Okay. And what about the rest of the any surprises for you or any disappointments?
Well, I'm a little surprised that they gave Nate Sudfeld like $2 million guaranteed dollars, and then he couldn't beat out literally the last pick in the draft for a quarterback job on the roster, and Brock Purdy, which is like, it's surprising on multiple levels. One, I don't know why the 49ers thought Nate Sudfeld was going to be any good in the first place, but two, like, dude, this guy was the literal last pick in the draft, and you couldn't beat him out. So that was a little weird. But, I'm just tired of talking about the 49ers backup quarterback. I really don't want to be doing it, but that was a surprise. Hopefully we won't even have to see Brock Purdy or Jimmy Garoppolo or any other damn quarterback that's on the roster this year.
Well, before we move on to the rest of the NFC, what are your expectations for your team this year?
I happen to be in the camp that I think that Trey Lance is going to be good. I think he's going to be much better at the end of the season than he is at the beginning of the season, because obviously he'll have more experience, and I think Kyle Shanahan will have more experience with him. Kyle's big strength is figuring out how you're going to attack him and then using the rules of your defense against you. He doesn't know how teams are going to attack Trey Lance because we haven't seen him yet. So as he goes along, I think he'll get better. But I think that the running game and especially the defense is going to be so good early that they're going to kind of be able to Garoppolo their way through the first few weeks of the season with Trey Lance. And then hopefully by the end of the year, he's in a position where he can actually start to make some plays and be maybe the reason why they win some games. So I'm predicting around 10, 11 wins.
Man, I like Trey. He has all the intangibles that, when I hear the comparisons that some of his teammates have made, that he, he kind of reminds me of Josh, or he has normally I took offense to other teams saying that about their guy. I feel like with Trey, I actually feel like I see some of those traits. I think he's going to be a star. I really do.
The big difference between Trey and Josh that sticks out in my mind is that Josh is not afraid to take off and run. Like, if Josh sees an opening, he goes. Like, he knows he's a horse and he's like, come and stop it. Trey Lance does not look to do that. Trey Lance, to me, looks at his legs like break glass in case of emergency. Like, let me look and look and look. And okay, finally, if there's really nothing else I can do, I'll take off and run down the field, which I think sometimes actually leads to him not gaining as many yards on the ground as he could if he just decided to put his head down and take off right away. That is the biggest difference between the two guys to me.
Yeah, for sure. For me, now this is a little selfish, and then we can move on from your squad. Deebo Samuel, prior to, I know everything is good now, with the team contracts, they're good. But prior to, he has some complaints about the way he was being used in certain things like that because of the money. Do we see that changing? Like, do we see him still being used as like a hybrid running back / wide receiver, or is he going to be more just wide receiver? How is that going to play out?
I think he likes to be used as a running back, frankly. Like there were times literally last year against the Cowboys before Debo's big touchdown run, they get the ball back. And as Debo is running out onto the field, he says, Kyle, give me the ball. Let's go. And Shanahan
Yeah.
did. They ran it in a touchdown the next play. I think he's cool with that, to be honest with you. I just think he wanted to be paid for it. And they actually put incentives in his contract, rushing incentives for different things. If he gets so many carries, if he gets so many yards, he gets more money, which is he absolutely should. So I think that's really his biggest gripe, was not that he was used that way. It was like, okay, just pay me to do this, pay me to take this extra punishment. They have, or they will at least. And I think, honestly, I think that situation ended as good as it could have possibly ended for the 49ers and for Debo.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. And you know what? I would have hated, as much as like a player like that, it's exciting for us to talk about. And like the news cycle is great, but certain players, it's like, no, you're supposed to be with your team, man. Like, like you're a 49er. I didn't want to see Debo traded. I didn't want to see him. Like, I actually didn't like the AJ Brown trade either. I felt like he's a Tennessee Titan. So, it's like I was very happy that got resolved for you guys. So
yeah, I think that Debo's in like the perfect spot with a coach who can take advantage of all his abilities, right? Like a different coach might not have used him the same way. And it's cool to see Debo get a handoff and truck 3 guys and run 40 yards down the field. It's fun. At least for me.
He's a beast, man. No, he's a beast. Like, I enjoy watching. So, if it's obviously, if the Bills aren't on, like, I have my team, the 49ers are like one of my teams. So, I really enjoy watching you guys. And Debo is he's that guy for me, man. So, well, let's move on to the rest of the NFC. So, obviously I feel that you feel that the 49ers are going to win your division. Or do you feel that, because I'm damn sure Seattle's not going to, like, I'm so sure of it. The Cardinals, how do you see the Cardinals this year? Me living here, I'm confused. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know if I feel like they got better or if they regressed. I really don't know.
They signed their quarterback to a huge extension, and they thought it was so necessary to put in there that he's got to watch 4 hours of film a week. They were so worried about him not studying that they literally put that in writing. That told me all I need to know about the Arizona Cardinals. You combine that with the fact that Kyler refused to go into the end of the playoff game against the Rams last year because he was pouting on the sideline. I'm so out on the Cardinals. I was so happy as a Niner fan when they re-upped Steve Keim and they re-upped Cliff Kingsbury, and now they're locked into Kyler Murray. Great. Awesome. That's the guy I'm going to be competing against. The guy that every time a new Call of Duty game comes out, he stinks the next Sunday. Like, okay, sign me up for that.
Yeah, no, it's because the thing is, and that's the part for me when you just said they extended the coach, they extended the GM. Thing is, like, man, you show up big in the beginning of the season. You come out hot. Come week 8, week 10, your team starts to fade, man, and it's consistent every year. Last year, I don't want to give him an excuse, but I get it. Like, Hopkins was out with an injury and your running game and JJ Watt. Like, I get it. All the injuries. Kyler got injured. But still, I don't get it, man. You can't disappear towards the end of the season and then, demand a new contract when you still have 2 years left as a quarterback, or demand, you want an extension as a coach. I don't get it.
And Kyler, the play he got hurt on against the Packers wasn't like this extraordinary play. I know it's like a low-hanging fruit to go back to this, but Kyler Murray is not a big dude. I have stood next to Kyler Murray. He is not taller than me, and I am 5'10". Now, he's got a hell of a lot more muscles than I do, but he's, compared to the guys he's out there with, like, he's going to get thrown around a little bit, and if he gets hurt at all, even if he plays, if he's not 100%, that offense just doesn't look the same way it does when he's healthy and they're rolling.
And see, they traded for Cody Ford from Buffalo. They're trying to protect him a little more. Listen, I love Cody, but there's a reason why the Bills were looking to get something for him. He wasn't the guy. We drafted him in the 2nd round. We got a 5th rounder for him. So, as much as I love him, he's just not the guy. So I still don't think that they made an improvement enough. They got rid of a stud on defense in Chandler Jones. He goes to Vegas. So, it's like, I don't know. I really don't know if I feel like they took a step. I don't know. So moving on, the other divisions, let's start with the East. How do we feel about the NFC East?
I feel like the Philadelphia Eagles have run circles around the Dallas Cowboys this offseason. I mean, even today, Philly made a move for Gardner Johnson, the
Hmm.
defensive back out of New Orleans, a really solid, good player. Like all of a sudden, the Eagles are loading up. And I look at the Cowboys and I'm like, what have the Cowboys done to help Dak Prescott? They traded away Amari Cooper. They've had some injuries along the offensive line. Like what is the one area where the Dallas Cowboys are better today than they were last year? I can't think of a single one. And now you've got this whole controversy with, Sean Payton potentially being out there as a coaching free agent. We know that Jerry Jones loves Sean Payton, tried to hire Sean Payton multiple times before. Like there's just a lot of bad juju with the Cowboys. I think the Eagles are winning that division, and I feel even more strongly after they made the move today.
And you know what? It's funny. I don't even think it's close. Like, normally I feel like the Cowboys have the more talented roster, but they just do dumb stuff. The Eagles, man, they got a roster over there.
Yes, absolutely they do. It's not just like Jalen Hurts and a bunch of stiffs. They're
Yeah.
got a strong defense. They brought in AJ Brown, like you mentioned. Devontae Smith is still there. They have one of the best running games in the league, especially when you include what Hurts can do. Like
Mhm.
I would be disappointed if the Eagles don't win the NFC East.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we're in agreement. What about the Giants? They took our offensive coordinator from last year. Now, Brian Daboll is the head coach out there. There's some excitement, obviously, when you get a new coach and you get, some new players and all that. I think the expectation is that I think it's a crazy expectation, but I think the expectation is that Brian Daboll is going to help develop Daniel Jones like he did Josh Allen. Completely different players, but like completely different. It's not even a close comparison. But what are your expectations for that team?
Look, you know Brian Daboll a lot better than me, but one thing I do know about him, he's not a wizard. Okay. He can't take a scrub and make him a star. And I
Yeah.
don't think the Giants think he's going to do that because if they did, they would have picked up Daniel Jones' 5th-year option, and they didn't. And they really didn't wait long to decline it. To me, that tells you they know Daniel Jones isn't the guy. Now, maybe he can change everybody's mind this year. I guess it's possible. But when I think of Daniel Jones, I just can't help but thinking of the guy that tripped over his own feet with nothing but green grass in front of him in prime time. Like to
Ooh,
me, that's always going to sum up his career to me. I mean, he turns the ball over. It's not good. And
stat.
Brian Dable, I think, could be a good coach, but it's going to take time, I think, to build up and turn over that roster.
Dude, I had him on my fantasy team that year. Like I remember because like I'll never
What?
forget that play. I'll never forget that play. Like, dude, like come on, man.
Nothing but
I-
green grass. There was nobody within 10 yards of him. And that's
and you
supposed to be the best thing he does.
you tackle yourself. Like, what are you doing? But you know what? And well, the one thing about the team that I will say, I look at the blueprint of what they're doing, and to me, it's the exact same thing the Bills did 5 years ago. They come in, they keep their quarterback, they gut the roster of bad contracts, they take some dead money on because they know they need to clear it up going forward. They draft a cornerback, they draft a lineman, so it's like the same formula. And really, like I said, they keep the quarterback. We kept Tyrod. Ironically, Tyrod is the backup there now, but they kept Tyrod. And I think I agree with you. They're gonna hey, if we make the playoffs, cool. Now, if you take a step forward and which I just don't see, but if you take a step forward and he becomes that guy, great, we got our guy. If not, okay, we can draft. We're gonna figure this thing out next year, or we're gonna find a free agent. So, I'm looking forward to seeing what they are with Dayball. But no, I agree with you because you figure when he was in Cleveland, when he was in any team that he was on with as an offensive coordinator without a great quarterback, he didn't look like the Brian Daboll he had with Josh Allen. So it's a big difference, huge difference.
Yeah, look, it takes two. Like you need good coaches and you need good players, but you just can't expect a guy that's a good coach to magically make someone a totally different player than they've been before. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah, yeah. So well, let's go down to the South. Everybody's favorite division in the NFC because obviously the number one overall don't get me started. Uh, like first of all, no, let's start there, man. How the hell does Tom Brady beat out Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Donald for the number one spot? Forget me complaining about Josh being 13. Forget that. Aaron Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Donald. Really, Tom Brady, number one?
I think he's got, don't forget who's voting on this thing, right? It's other players. And I don't know if there's another player in the league that has the respect of his peers more than he's 45 years old. Okay. The guy's older than dirt and he's not just hanging on. He's putting up like the best numbers of his career. It's absurd. It is ridiculous. And I agree. Like physically, there are guys more. Josh Allen is light years ahead of Tom Brady physically, even at Brady's peak. Josh Allen is a mutant, but I think that Brady's just got a ton of respect. Guys are like, when I wake up, every bone in my body hurts. Tom Brady's 3 times my age and he's getting out there and, loving life, rocking out. So he's got a lot of respect among peers. And I think that's how he got to number one.
Yeah. And the dude looks 25. Like every time I see him, he actually looks younger.
Not he's a joke as he's Benjamin buttoning us.
Yeah, every time. But let's talk about the division a bit. I sorry for the 49ers fans that's listening tonight, but my pick actually for the Super Bowl is not like, I'm not even trying to have like a hot take on it. I really think that the Saints are going to take a step forward in a way that people are underestimating across the board. I think they're a very good roster. I think Jameis is a lot better than what people want to believe. Last season, before he tore his ACL, he was a very efficient quarterback, a very good quarter, and he has weapons now. He has weapons out there with Alvin Kamara. They signed, let me see, I'm having a brain fart here, but the guy, what's his name, from Cleveland, Jarvis Landry. They have some weapons there. So what is your take on that division, but specifically first the Saints?
Well, I'm going to be totally honest. I'm a Saints hater. I never have liked the Saints. So I want to just lay that out there right now. But I think they're trying to make a Big Mac without the secret sauce. They're trying to keep everything the same except not having Sean Payton. But if you try to make a Big Mac without secret sauce, all you have is a hamburger. So I'm not buying this from the Saints until I see it. Like, I have to see it to believe it. You're right. Jameis was playing better before he got hurt with Sean Payton there. And I know that they still have Pete Carmichael's there as the offensive coordinator. So they're thinking that they're going to be able to keep things largely the same. I don't know. I think it's really curious that Sean Payton was like, yeah, I'm going to retire from coaching, but I pretty much want to coach next year. Like, I thought that was really weird. The Saints have had a lot of salary cap issues. I almost feel like Sean Payton ran up the credit card bill and then bailed before he had to make the first payment. It seemed kind of weird to me. But they do have really good players on the roster. You're right. I'm blinded by my Saints hatred. I got to see it work there before I just say, oh, well, Jameis is in and they're going to keep everything the same and it's going to run fine.
Yeah, no, I feel you. And I understand too, the personal hate, because I don't care how good certain teams get. Like there's certain teams that's just like, no, you're buns, man. You're trash. So our favorite situation to talk about last year, you and I had a friendly wager that we really didn't get to, I guess settle, because there was an injury to our guy in Carolina that was traded from the New York Jets. Now we have 2 quarterbacks from the same draft that Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen was picked in after these guys. Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold are now in Carolina. What is your take on this? And what was your reaction when that whole thing played out there in Carolina?
Well, I was never on the Darnold train. Yeah. It's kind of like the same thing with Daniel Jones, right? It was like people said Sam Darnold, well, once he gets away from Adam Gase, he's going to be so much better. To me, he wasn't. It's not all on a bad coach. So you can say what you want about Daniel Jones, but I don't think he's going to be the different guy. I'm actually kind of on the Baker Mayfield train. And again, this could be my bias also, because I like Baker's personality. I just think he's an interesting, funny person. He's not the normal, we're just going to go out there and play quarterback and, we'll take it one game at a time. He literally commented this week, he said he's going to bleep up the Browns when they play in week 1. And this is Baker Mayfield coming off a terrible year. I'm like, great, man. Now I have a reason to watch that game. So I like him, but I also look at Baker and I'm like, man, the dude set the rookie record for touchdown passes in a season. He didn't even start every game that year, and he had friggin' Freddie Kitchens as his offensive coordinator. Then they randomly make Freddie Kitchens the head coach, and stunner of all stunners, he doesn't look as good. And I know last year he wasn't great, but he was hurt almost immediately last year. I don't know. I think that Baker is not as bad as people think. And I think that because he rubs so many people the wrong way personality-wise, they hammer him on the field more than he deserves. Is that fair, or am I just biased?
I think you're biased, but I'm biased. So,
Okay.
so like the way you talk about the Saints, that's how I talk about Baker. Like his personality rubs me completely wrong. Like,
Yep, I get it.
if he would have won some games first, and I'm not talking about like his rookie year, you're right. He had he have the record for rookie touchdowns, and he was the first quarterback to lead the Cleveland Browns to the playoffs. And so there are things that he's accomplished that I can't take from him. And but to me, after that rookie year or during the rookie year, he was talking like he had won 5 Super Bowls. Like he was talking like, and even still now, this is funny to me because I want Cleveland to suffer all the suffering that they can suffer. So
who are you rooting for?
Yeah, no, I'm rooting for Baker week 1. I
Okay.
absolutely. And, and you're right. It gives you a reason to watch, but yeah, I still don't think he's going to be any different, man.
He's not like a stud, but I just think I don't think he's like a bust, if that's fair. And I do find him just endlessly entertaining. So I'll sign me up for that. If I got to watch a guy that's like not great, kind of like mediocre, at least make him interesting to me.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. I'm with you. Real quick, before we get into the North, because I know everybody wants to talk about Aaron Rodgers and this interview that he had the other day. Let me take a quick moment. I know. Let me get a quick moment to hear from my man, Buffalo Freddy. Okay, here's the deal. I know as Bills fans, we wait all year for the fall and the winter so we can go to the Bills games. I get it. Trust me, I do. But let me tell you why this time of the year is elite. It's party time. And we're going to party for so many reasons, whether it's a graduation party, a birthday party, family reunion, or just because it's Saturday and the weather's perfect. Here's the thing. My guy, Buffalo Freddy, has everything you need to make your party the best party of the year. We have everything from chairs and tables to premium tents, water slides, wet and dry bounce houses, and so much more. And that's not all. The best barbecue catering in Western New York has you covered, whether it's a small party or a corporate gathering. Buffalo Freddy Barbecue Catering makes everything easy for you. Rentals and bookings available now at www.buffalofreddy.com, or you can call 716-4FREDDY. That's 716-437-3339. Remember, for all your party rental needs, just call 4Freddy. All right. And then not next week, because next week is the opener. The following week for the home opener, if you are in Buffalo, make sure you get out and join us on the 16th, that Friday night. We're going to be at the Heights for karaoke night. It's going down. First of all, I just want y'all to know I'm singing like every song possible. So we're going to do some duets. It's going down. But everything is going to be in honor and memory of my Aunt Pearl, who was one of the victims in the shooting at Tops on Jefferson. And we're going to be donating everything as a scholarship in Aunt Pearl's honor to Good Samaritan Church. That is the church that she ran the pantry at for all the years that she had done all those great things. We do have a raffle going on right now. I'll have this up for a hot second, but then go on Twitter. You can find it, $2 per raffle ticket. We're going to be giving away some really good prizes. I can't wait to see everybody. Honestly, I really can't wait to see everybody. It's going to be so much fun. And then the following night, we are going to be doubling down on our Buffalo Rumblings beer release, the second year in a row. Last year, it was a great time. We did the live pod. This year, we're doing it again. The Voice, Joe Miller, is going to be hosting this mega pod. It's going to be a great time. Come on out and hang with us. I can't wait to see everybody. Now, let's talk about this whole Aaron Rodgers debacle. Well, I can't even call it a debacle because I just think he's Aaron Rodgers. Like, I've come to expect like controversial conversations now whenever Aaron Rodgers is mentioned. So what are your thoughts on, I'll just let you say, what are your thoughts?
Just because he's a Hall of Fame quarterback doesn't mean he's cool or smart or any of that. And Aaron Rodgers loves to think he's the smartest guy in the room, and that's fine, whatever. You're not, Aaron. Like, we all see what you're doing and what you're trying to do. Like, every time you were throwing shade in press conferences with the Packers, like, we could all tell you weren't playing 4D chess. But he's an amazing, incredible quarterback. So as long as I don't have to see him or hear him off the field, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you're gonna hear it though.
I
Like that's
know.
the problem. Like that's the problem. And he's one of the quarterbacks now. I do love first, let me start off by saying I do love how over the course of maybe the last 3 or 4 years, I feel like the quote unquote new media, as Draymond Green likes to call it, has kind of started. I feel like we have more insight into the game, like from the players and from people who used to play. So now, we do hear a lot. So I enjoy the fact that Aaron Rodgers goes on the Pat McAfee show every week and that he gives insights or whatever. However, I think sometimes it's like, dude, come on, man. Like you gotta you gotta reel it in, bring it in.
Yeah, like everything you say is not brilliant, Aaron. And like,
Yeah.
all right, like do you like what live your life? That's fine, but I'm not in awe of that. Like that's not. I don't care
He's
about you.
he's so profound. Like at least
Like
he
yeah,
thinks he is.
like
Like,
no, dude, you and your man bun, you're not. Like you're just not. But he kicks ass on the field. He's unbelievable on the field, except against the 49ers in the playoffs. But other than that, he's
dude,
great.
it's so weird. And I mean, it's good for you guys, I'm sure. You aren't mad about that at all. But it's like the guy plays perfectly all season. What do you have? Like 3 interceptions? Like I don't he had however many touchdowns and no interceptions, and then he gets to the playoffs and they can barely move the ball. It's like it's beyond me that when he gets to the 49ers in the playoffs, whether it's at home or away, it doesn't matter.
Home, away, Jimmy Garoppolo, Colin Kaepernick. He just can't do it. He lost back-to-back years to Colin Kaepernick. He's lost multiple times now to Jimmy Garoppolo in the playoffs. And I thought it was hilarious because, when the 49ers crushed them in the NFC Championship game, he was like, well, we got to get one of these at our place. It's like, dude, you had that against Colin Kaepernick and you lost
Yeah.
that one too in the snow. So, like, it's just a weird phenomenon. It doesn't make up for the fact that he should have been the 49ers quarterback in 2005, but it does help a little.
Yeah, man, I couldn't even imagine. Like at this point, like I get it, it was 2005, but I'm saying like things probably wouldn't have played out the way they have. But let's just say he got there and then he stayed there. The roster you guys have now with the Aaron Rodgers, I just couldn't. That wouldn't be fair for anybody. So
Well, the
yeah,
Niners tried to get him before they drafted Trey Lance. They called the Packers and they were trying to trade for him. So they were hoping that too.
yeah, I couldn't. That would be disgusting. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to talk about it no more. But so as far as their division, what's your outlook there?
I'm kind of fat. I mean, I think that the Packers have the best team. I think that Aaron will be able to make, chicken salad out of chicken bleep with the wide receivers that they've got there. Maybe they hit on a couple of guys. We'll see. But I am really fascinated by the Vikings. Like the Vikings have now, for the first time in a long time, an offensive coach in Kevin O'Connell running a system in the kind of Shanahan style system that we've seen have success around the league. Kirk Cousins is a human sweater vest, but he's also a very consistent quarterback. As much as people like to hate on him, I defend him. He's not as bad as people think. Like you can mark him down for like 4,000 yards and 30 touchdown passes this year because he does it every single year and he's never hurt. You're surrounding him with Cook and Justin Jefferson. Adam Thielen supposedly is looking a little healthier this year. He's still got some gas left in the tank, but they've got solid players there. So I'm not saying that they're going to be like a wrecking crew, but that's not going to be a week off for teams that have to play them. They're going to be a problem for teams and you better be on it. Otherwise they're going to whoop you.
Well, I don't think that they, realistically, I don't think that they were ever recently, at least I would say during the Kirk Cousins era there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they've been a pushover. He's consistent. He's not a guy that you're going to automatically think of like, oh my God, that guy's going to take over a game and win, but he's not going to lose it. He's very accurate. He's consistently, I think he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in NFL history. If I'm being honest, I have to look that up, but I'm almost sure I had this conversation before and he's pretty much up there. So no, I'm with you there. And at Dalvin Cook, our guy, what's his name? Phillips just went over there. So, Bills player just went over there. So, hey, I would like to see them dethrone the Packers. I want to see some competition. What's your take on the Lions? I'm enjoying Hard Knocks, actually.
Well, we're talking about Baker Mayfield just being an interesting quarterback. I don't know how good of a coach Dan Campbell is, but damn, is he interesting, man. He's made the Lions more interesting than they've been in years,
Yeah,
like
for sure.
he's trying to change the culture there. I think that they are a long way away roster-wise from being able to be in a spot where they're going to threaten some people. But I saw the Lions fight pretty hard for a lot of the year last year. Hell, they were losing to the 49ers 41-17 at the 2-minute warning last year and had the ball in their hands at the end of the game with a chance to tie the game. I've never seen anything like that before. But that goes to the culture that I think that Dan Campbell's trying to instill. Like, they're going to, for lack of a better phrase, bite some kneecaps. And, they're building it up there. And I think that Dan Campbell, I think they were smart to do Hard Knocks because he's a very likable guy. He's getting the media on his side. I think the media likes him because he gives good quotes and stuff like that. Yep. He's going to have a little leeway there, a little time to kind of build this thing up. I mean, just compare him to the last guy they had there in Matt Patricia. Like, Dan Campbell is 10,000 times more likable than Matt Patricia. I think that's going to buy him some time. And, I'm kind of pulling for them a little bit. They haven't had a ton to cheer about in the last, what day is today? 40 years.
I like him. I'm with you. You're right. He absolutely makes them way more interesting. You know what? He actually and I mean this in the most positive way. He reminds me of Rex Ryan in that sense, like as far as his personality and his presence on the camera or in a room. But I think that he's less. Rex was ridiculous, like I think, he overreached for certain things, like, oh, the Buffalo Bills won the offseason. We didn't even make the playoffs. Like that's what Rex was. I don't think Dan Campbell goes that far, but he has energy. I want to play for the guy. Like, I would run through a wall for him and his assistant coaches. Like, most of the coaches are former players themselves. And man, I don't know. It's just something magical. I feel when you have a locker room that's like completely full of the team, it's like everybody's a player and everybody understands each other and what it takes to go where you want to go. And, I don't think they're going to be like great this year. Like we said, I agree with you about it being the Packers. I would love to see the Vikings, but no, I'm going to root for them because you're right. They haven't had nothing to root for me since Megatron was there. I love Megatron.
If you just look at teams in terms of like vibes, the Lions got some good vibes going, man. For a team that especially is not expected to win a ton of games, like everybody feels good about the Lions right now. And it's been a long time since I feel like you could say that.
What's there? And again, I'm just having a brain fart for the running back. I love him. Like his quote, he gives
DeAndre Swift.
No, is it Williams?
Oh, he had the didn't he have the Jamal Williams?
Jamal, yeah, dude. He has the best quotes. He's so likable. Like last season when he said the Lions picked him up and he was talking about how his other team dropped him but his girlfriend picked him up. And so like, he's just so likable, man. And and then now on Hard Knocks, he's giving the speech and he's crying. He's emotional and passionate. And it's like, how do you not root for these guys, man? Like I just, but to round this division out, Chicago, they, to me, it's a similar, not as far as the roster being as good, but quarterback wise, it's a similar situation to what we're seeing with your team. What are we looking at, in your opinion, with Chicago?
I don't know why the Bears haven't. I feel like they have not done enough to help out Justin Fields. I'm kind of a Justin Fields fan. I really liked him coming out. I was sort of hoping the Niners would have drafted him. He was the guy I wanted because I felt like he had accuracy. He had mobility. I felt like he had a chip on his shoulder because like Trevor Lawrence had always sort of been like the number one guy. And he's over here like, what the hell else do I have to do? Even coming out of high school, I think Trevor Lawrence was the number one guy and he was number two. So I if you've got a really talented guy who's also super motivated, that's always a good combo for me. Mm-hmm. But I look at the Bears right now, like who are their weapons? Darnell Mooney. Okay. And nobody. And I know that Eberflus is, he's taken over there, but you've got to act with some urgency if you've got a young quarterback because you need to find out if that guy can play, because if he can, it's your responsibility as a team to load up that roster while that quarterback is cheap on his rookie deal. And you can't do that until you know if that guy can play or not. And you've got to give Justin Fields some help there so that you can get a true evaluation of him.
Yeah. And that's the part I feel bad. It's like this kid, I agree with you. He has all the talent in the world, man. He could absolutely be a star, but if they don't give him anybody, I feel like it's going to be one of those situations different, but Matt Stafford type deal where you're in the organization and you have this contract. So you're there, you're making money. You're not going to get traded. You're going to play every week because you're a pro, but it doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter if you're not good because the team isn't going anywhere. And we see what happened with Matt Stafford. He goes to LA and all of a sudden, like, oh, he's the darling of the NFL. Like, this guy is great. Everybody's talking about him as a Hall of Famer and all that. All it took was a completely different roster for us to look at this guy different. So I just feel like that about, Chicago, and it's bad. It's bad. I got some friends out there and I feel bad for them, man. They're like the Bills 10 years ago. It's a bad spot.
Yeah, man. Circumstances have a lot to do with success and failure, particularly for a quarterback. And right now, his circumstances are not great. I hope he has a great year starting in week 2 after the 49ers kick his butt in week 1.
Yeah, they're gonna get him. They're gonna get at him. So, well, let's round the NFC discussion out real quick. We got about 10 minutes left. What is your prediction? Who do you think comes out of the NFC this year to represent in the Super Bowl? And this is a way too early prediction. Way too early prediction.
It is really early. I don't know if I'm going to be bold here. I kind of wonder if maybe it's going to be the Eagles, to be honest with you. I am not in on the Bucks. The fact that Tom Brady just bailed in the middle of training camp, conveniently, by the way, when they were going to play the Dolphins, the team that he moved or tried to move heaven and earth to go to, by the way, he's getting no flack for that whatsoever. He bails on training camp. I felt like if another player did that to Tom Brady, he would have crushed him. He would have frozen him out of the offense, and he wouldn't have stood for it. Now he's walking away in the middle of training camp. He retired. He came back. Like that. I just don't like the vibes there with that. Plus, Bruce Arians is gone. Todd Bowles is there. We don't know what the effect of that is going to be. I'm not saying that Todd Bowles is a bad coach, but I don't know what he's going to be this year. I'm not just going to automatically assume that he's going to pick up right where Bruce Arians left off. And I know that we've been saying this for a long time, but every year Brady is the oldest he's ever been. At some point, it might not be quite as good as we have seen. I don't think the Bucs as a team are quite as good as they were when Brady first got there. So I'm not going with Tampa Bay. I think I might go Philly, which is crazy because I know they don't have the best quarterback in the NFC, but that roster is really, really good.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. He's not the best quarterback, but the drop off from the best quarterback, I think it's enough to win with that roster. It's not like what we're talking about with Chicago. Like the roster is there and he has enough talent to where he's not going to destroy games for you. He can make plays with his legs. He makes plays with his arm. They got some weapons for him. That AJ Brown trade was something on draft night, man. That was something. So no, I could absolutely see it, man. That's an interesting pick. And I agree with you about Tom Brady too. Isn't it weird too? It just seems like first, the injuries are going on. He disappears. Like you said, I feel like it's different. It's not just something's going on down there. And I don't think that it's just like, oh yeah, no, I had family stuff. I'm 45. Shit is going on. No, I don't think it's that. I think like something is going on and they're not telling us, but man, it's super weird down there. And I agree with you.
Be there.
No, he doesn't. And I thought Brian Leftwich would have made. I think Todd Bowles was a decent coach with the Jets. I'm all for having black coaches in the NFL. Obviously, like I stand for black coaches getting jobs. But out of the two, I'm hoping that Brian Leftwich gets that opportunity soon. Like, man, I think he's a brilliant mind. I think that to your point, Todd Bowles he's not Arians, and I know Arians wasn't necessarily great for the entirety of his career, but hey, he's a Super Bowl winning coach at this point. I can't drag him. I can't trash him. He's had great teams even when they weren't winners like that. So I respect Arians a little bit differently than I do Bowles. I want Leftwich to get a shot.
Bruce Arians has won Coach of the Year like multiple times on multiple different teams. So there could be a bit of a drop off. I agree on Leftwich. And the thing about that you can say is Arians is kind of known for like not doing a ton, especially late in his career. There were all those rumors that Brady didn't think he was working hard enough. And Arians has made no secret of the fact that, number one, like he lets his coaches do their thing and he kind of takes a step back. So normally you might say, well, it's Arians' system. How much credit do we give the offensive coordinator? I think the opposite is true with Byron Leftwich. I think he should get a shot, and I think he will, hopefully, next year.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I hope so. Sarah agrees with you too. She says her pick has been Philly as well. Their defense is picking up, and they have one of the easiest schedules. And I could see all of those things working in their favor. Like I said, for me, it might be a hot take then, because everybody I say it to, they're like, yeah, I don't know about the Saints, man. And for the same reasons that you gave, like the coaching staff and all that stuff. So I'm with it. We'll see. I just I'm really hoping that they take a step forward this year. I want Jameis to prove people wrong, man. He's better than what they say. So for last topic before we get on out of here, man, I just really want your thoughts. I think everybody knew my thoughts. I was very, very vocal last week when everything happened up in Western New York, when the allegations or the charges for Matt Araiza, rookie punter for the Buffalo Bills before he was cut. Matt Araiza was charged with gang rape and whatever else. I've been pretty vocal. I would like for you, if you are comfortable with it, I would like for you to kind of share your thoughts and how you feel about the situation and how the Bills handled it.
So first, I was all draft waiting for the 49ers to draft him. Like, I was like, please, let's get this guy. He's amazing. And then just to see this, just completely stunned. And I do have to question what the Bills knew and when they knew it. How hard did they look in the first place? NFL teams have security staffs on them that are filled with people that used to work in law enforcement, local law enforcement, federal law enforcement. They have investigators to investigate this type of thing. And I don't know that the Bills didn't investigate. I'm not saying that. I'm just wondering what they knew and when they knew it. And I think everything from that point, like, they were right to cut him, and the process can go through and play out. And I don't know what's going to happen, but if it's proven that he didn't do anything, then you know what? He'll get another shot punting in the NFL. But I think the Bills absolutely had to cut him. You can't. I don't even think Deshaun Watson should be playing, frankly, for the Cleveland Browns. Like, I've been vocal and honest about that too. Like, look at these things that these people are accused of. I think Buffalo played it the way they had to play it, and I thought that Sean McDermott was visibly shaken at his media session in a way that I have not seen him very much.
Yeah, no, you're right. I've seen him kind of angry one time, like when we were kind of going through some times and the media was kind of tough on him. He was a little snappy, but this was the first time I've like really seen him. And we've had moments, obviously when Josh lost his grandmother was an emotional time. Dawson Knox's brother passing away, Kim Pagula having the medical emergency. So we've had some heavy moments, but this just, it felt like it weighed on the entire organization differently. Like this was so different. This was, when somebody passes away, like, it's dark and it's heavy, but it's one of those things where it's like we typically rally together and it's like, let's get behind this person, let's support them. And there's like a sense of hope. This just felt dirty. It just felt dirty and disgusting. And I'm so proud at this point to be a Bills fan and to say my team, now, the whole thing, was it perfect? No, but I'm proud to say at the end of the day, they got to the conclusion that they got to. They made the right decision and they let him go without the circus. You're not going into this season with a distraction. Like you mentioned, if he's innocent, he'll get a shot. But this year, with this roster, with this window that we have, we don't have the time for any type of, especially a disgusting accusation like this. We don't have time, man.
Right. This is not something, a DUI is serious, of course, but this is a lot more serious than that. You can deal with a speeding ticket or something like that. This is way, way more serious. I think the Bills had to do this. And can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
And this is not related to that situation, but I've just been, because I've been so steeped in quarterbacks and thinking about quarterbacks and what if our quarterback played better? And if we just had a quarterback, we could win a Super Bowl. And I keep going back to the Bills and Josh Allen. You cannot have a better playoffs than Josh Allen had last year. You cannot do it. It's almost impossible. And they didn't make the AFC Championship game. And so my fandom in me says, well, there's no way Josh Allen's going to play better than that next year. So how can I hope for a better outcome?
Well, I mean, I don't think that he can play better. No, he can't. But what I do think, from the perspective, when you look at the season, he can play better from the season. So if we get 80% of what he gave us in those first 2 games in the playoffs, that if we get 80% of that for the season, Josh Allen is going to be MVP, and I just don't think that there's anybody that can stop us. If we get, because he was perfect, man. Like the New England game, literally we didn't punt. It was 7 for 7 every drive. We scored a touchdown, and then you look at the Kansas City game. I mean, that fourth quarter, like the last 6 minutes of that fourth quarter, both quarterbacks, it was nonstop, and I can't blame that. I know a lot of fans were upset with the defense. Listen, sometimes you just go up against a beast. Their defense couldn't stop Josh. Our defense couldn't stop Patrick. Sometimes it happens. But to answer your question, if we get 80% of what Josh gave us in the playoffs, I am thrilled, man. I am thrilled. And the way I feel this year is weird. I always try to be humble at times, unless it's like jerks on Twitter or something talking, then I'll talk some stuff. But I try to be humble. And the thing is, it's like this year, I really don't know. This is the first year as a Bills fan, I don't know how to say what my real expectations are, because it sounds like I'm being cocky. Like, I really feel like this roster has the chance to go 14-3 or 13-4. And like, I do. Like, when you look at our roster and you look at who we're playing and you look at what Josh can potentially be, our defense was number 1 last year. We beefed up our defensive line. We added Von Miller and Tim Settle. We drafted a very good cornerback in the first round. So when Trey White comes back, we're going to have a very solid secondary overall. James Cook is going to elevate our backfield. I think I'm too excited. And it's one of those things where it's like, holy crap, like, we're really this good. And I don't know how to say that without sounding like a jerk.
Look, I can speak from experience. I'm old enough to remember when the 49ers were a dominant team in the 90s. And every year in the 90s, they were winning 10 to 12 games. And it was just get through the season. We know we're making the playoffs. For me, especially the early to mid 90s, it was just wake me up at the NFC Championship game when Dallas comes to town, because they were the only 2 teams. That's what it felt like in the NFC. It was just them. That's it. And we'll just see you in the NFC Championship game, and the whole season is going to come down to that game. And I feel like that's where the Bills are, to be honest with you. It's not arrogant to say. It's just the facts of the matter. And I know, as somebody that roots for and covers an NFC team, I look over at the other conference and I'm like, if the Bills, if they got picked off by like the Bengals or the Ravens in the playoff game, I wouldn't be too upset about that. Like, I do not want to play the Buffalo Bills. And in a weird way, your team and your quarterback, I think, is responsible for Trey Lance being the 49ers quarterback to make this come totally full circle. Yeah. Because that Monday Night Football game, when the Bears played the 49ers, I really think opened Kyle Shanahan's eyes to having a mobile quarterback and how much that helps. I think Kyle was like, our defense is great. We have an incredible game plan up against this guy. And then he went out and kicked the 49ers' ass. Yeah. Nothing they did bothered him. And you could see Kyle Shanahan after the game kind of have that glassy-eyed look, like he could not believe that the plan didn't work. And I think it kind of kicked in for him at that point. Like, yeah, that's what a guy that can move can do. He can go beyond your scheme to win games if he has to. So thank you, I guess.
Yeah, well, and I think once he developed, again, with expectations being correct, I think, maybe later into the season or next season, I think that the experience will help him be that guy to do it. But I'm excited for you guys. Really, I think you have a star over there, a star in the making. So let's get on out of here, man. Why don't you let everybody know where they can find you and your content and what you got coming up major, and the season starting. So I know you got a lot coming up.
So you can check us out, the Niners Nation podcast. Just search Niners Nation everywhere you get your podcast. We have long form shows every day of the week. We've got a 5-minute daily show in the morning. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, I'm at Stats on Fire. I like to say I'm there for the arguments.
You got a TikTok, man?
I do. I have a TikTok. I feel like the old dude in the room. But I do have it, and I do post. I try to post at least one video a day, just like Niners news and things going on with the team. But yeah, I've entered that space, as frightening as it can be.
All right, I think I got to get to it, man. But hey, thank you so much for joining me, man. Like this has been a pleasure and an honor for me. I really, really appreciate this. And for everybody listening on podcast form or even live tonight, thank you so much. I know how we do it here with Buffalo Rumblings. Love each other, take care of each other, and live in peace. And as always, stay positive, test negative, go Bills.
Code of conduct.